يفقهوا قولي ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We will today talk about three main topics. Topic number one is silk. Silk is completely permissible for women to wear, but impermissible for the men. But how much is permissible? How much of silk is permissible in clothing? And what about artificial silk? Like, for example, silk ties. Yes? Can you wear a tie that is silk tie? Yes? So that's number one. Number two, we will talk about clothing with images. Images of what's called dhatul arwah, or al-mushtamila ala suwar dhatil arwah. Something that has, it's an animate object, okay? A living object. Versus a picture, or versus inanimate objects. And what about emblems and logos and whatnot? What about Nike? Isn't Nike like a Greek goddess? Interesting question. No, well, yes, it was, and no, Nike is not a Greek goddess. The tick, all right? The swoosh is not. But we'll talk about that in detail. Number three is some basic etiquettes about clothing in Islam, what it means for us as Muslims. As you mentioned in the very first topic, clothing is considered to be a heavenly gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قَدْ أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ لِبَاسًا يُوَارِي سَوْآتِكُمْ وَرِيشًا. Okay? But there is some more details to it, like how you are to wear new clothes. What do you say if someone is wearing nice clothes? What is it that you shouldn't be doing when it comes to clothing? How expensive can your clothes be? Can you buy a $5,000 suit? Or do you buy like cheap suits from JCPenney for $200? This is an interesting question. Okay, there are some Sahaba, for example, who would say that you can spend a third of your wealth on bukhur and itar, and it's not considered to be wasteful. That's what they would think. That was Abdullah ibn Umar, his position. You could spend a lot of your money on colognes because it smells beautiful. People around you feel good when you're in their presence. But how much of it is israf and how much is not? We'll talk about that as well, inshallah. Okay, let's get started with the easiest one, which is silk. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, he said as narrated by Ali radiallahu anhu, Ali radiallahu anhu himself says, Inna Nabiy Allahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam akhadha hadidan فجعله في يمينه وأخذ ذهبا فجعله في شماله ثم قال إن هذين حرام على ذكور أمتي. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ali radiallahu anhu says, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam took silk in his right hand and took gold in his left hand to demonstrate the two objects. Okay? And then he said, these two things are impermissible for the men of my ummah. So this is the base ruling. The base ruling is wearing silk and wearing gold ornaments is impermissible for men. Okay? And it is permissible for women by default. Okay? By default, it is permissible for women, and especially because the Prophet said it is for the ala dhukuri ummati. It is for the men. So this is a specific hadith, very clear cut. The Prophet leaves no shadow of a doubt. No ambiguity is left because he literally grabbed the two objects and showed it to the people. Okay? This is what I'm talking about. Don't misunderstand. Okay, what about al-yasiru min harir? Okay, what about a little bit of silk for men? Okay, as we talked about women, you're fine. You can wear silk as much as you want or as little as you want. Completely your choice. But for men, this is an interesting question. What happens if you had a little bit of silk in your clothes? For example, back in the day, they would, if their clothes would tear apart, they would patch it up, right, with a little patch. Has anybody seen that? It was, Muhammad has seen it for sure, alhamdulillah. I remember when I was a kid, this was fashionable. Your jeans got torn and you put a patch on it. Okay, now you know how old I am. So that was back in the day. Okay, So what what they would do before the Industrial Revolution is that they would actually always patch their clothes, and they would patch it with different materials. So the question is about a patch of silk on clothing that is not made of silk. Is that permissible? And this is the position of the majority of the scholars, the Hanafi, the Shafi'i, the Hanbalis, that it is permissible, right? And they say that وَهُوَ مَا كَانَ مِقْدَارُهُ فِي الثَّوْبِ أَرْبَعَ أَصَابِعْ فَأَقَلْ. It is basically 4 finger lengths, right? Like this much in width. That is a patch that you can put on your clothes made out of silk, and it is acceptable to do so. Why are they saying this? The Prophet ﷺ was very explicit. How can Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad say one thing when the Prophet ﷺ has said, you can't do it? How do you think that happens? Any ideas? There's got to be another hadith, or there has to be something that a Sahabi did that serves as an exception to the rule that the Prophet ﷺ gave. This is an important point in fiqh, right? You would see that the Prophet ﷺ said, you can't do this. And then the scholars will say, this is actually makruh, not haram. Okay? How do they arrive at that conclusion? They arrive at that conclusion because there is a Sahabi who, knowing the hadith, does something contradictory on the surface to the hadith. And based on that, the scholars say, well, if a Sahabi who knows what the hadith is, understands it, and then acts differently, that means that there is an exception to the general rule. And the Sahabi is demonstrating for us, by his actions, the exception. Okay? So what is, and you can also, this could also be from the Prophet ﷺ himself, demonstrating an exception from his actions. Okay, so here is what we find. We find, Anna Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, this is in Sahih Muslim actually, it's not like it's a very authentic athar, very authentic narration of Umar, that Umar ibn al-Khattab خطب بالجابية فقال نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن لبس الحديد إلا مواضع إصبعين أو 3 أو 4. The Prophet Umar radiallahu anhu gave a khutbah. Okay? And in the khutbah he said, the Prophet said, you are not allowed to wear silk, the men, except in the place or the amount of 2 or 3 or 4 finger lengths. Okay? So he is explaining what the exception to the rule is. And that's how we get the exceptions. That's how we always get the exceptions from the fuqaha. They look at how did the Sahaba act after knowing the hadith. And if they act in a certain way, their actions become an exception to the rule that the Prophet has given. And there is more details in this matter, and that is the study of usul al-fiqh, for example. Okay? But that is permissible, inshallah ta'ala. You can have that amount of silk, but that's a clear patch. It's not like silk that's woven as part of your clothing. It's on top of your clothing as a repair patch. What about al-harir as-sana'i, the artificial silk? Okay, if you purchase a silk tie from Sears for $40, you're not buying real silk, brother. It's not real silk. Real silk is way more expensive. Okay. So that is synthetic silk. And synthetic silk is, what do you think? Halal or haram? Okay, how many people think halal? Raise your hand. Wishfully thinking halal. Please Allah. All my ties, I have to throw them out. Right? How many of you thinking haram? Maybe a few of you. Okay. The correct answer is, it is permissible, it is halal, because لأن المحرم هو الحرير الطبيعي المعروف. The haram thing is the real silk that's made by the worm, not the artificial one, synthetic one that's made by a chemical process. And also, al-aslu fil libas ibaha. Every type of clothing is by default permissible. You have to have evidence to say this is not permissible. You don't have evidence, that means de facto it is permissible. So your silk ties, you are good to go, you can wear them. I had a friend who once said, oh man, this guy gave me such a nice tie, can I wear it? And I was puzzled. Of course, artificial. Muhammad, the real silk tie will be like $500. Okay, maybe even more. I don't know how much real silk is, right? So he was very confused. He was very sad. He's like, this is such a nice tie. I want to wear it. Like, it's okay, brother. It's artificial silk. You can wear it, inshallah, no problem. Okay, questions about silk for the men? No questions? Alhamdulillah, I think we're good. Oh, Sheikh Khalid. They have 10%? Somewhat? Scarves, yeah. That's still artificial. If your scarf is under $100, it's got to be artificial silk. If you're buying like a $500 scarf, then probably that has some silk in it. Yeah. But so let me reframe. You should, like, you can verify how what kind of silk it is. Okay, you can get that. You can verify that. You can just Google the manufacturer, and it will. If it's real silk, they will say it is real silk, right? Mostly they will just say silk, and they mean artificial silk. Okay. Correct. So the real one is okay in like patches, okay? But artificial is completely fine. And most probably anything that says, like, you know, the composition of the clothes and it says silk, most probably that is going to be artificial. I don't think they would just say silk for real silk. They would probably make some other bigger deal out of it. I would imagine, at least. Yes? Exactly. Alhamdulillah. So that is silk, walhamdulillah. You know, alhamdulillah for the Industrial Revolution, right? We can wear these things now. Okay. The other topic is the clothing with pictures. All right, very interesting. Let us start maybe a little bit before the pictures on the clothes. Let's start with the pictures themselves. Yes? Oh boy, hot topic. Pictures themselves. What do we do with pictures? If you remember in the early 2000s, I'm old enough to remember this. Some of you are too, mashallah, as well. This was a hot debate among the mashayikh. Can we take pictures or not with the cell phone? Do you remember that? How many of you remember that? Some of you do, yeah? Alhamdulillah. Right? Now, mashallah, every sheikh is posting a selfie on Instagram. Allahu Akbar. You see how the fatwa has evolved. It is like, I remember if you take a picture and some brothers would step out of the picture. It's like, oh, I don't take pictures. Now everybody's taking pictures and everybody's posting them on Instagram. It's not even a question to be asked. Okay? So what happened? Okay, here's what happens. The first thing is the picture. There are a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ is very strictly warning against making pictures and pictorial representations of animate objects. Okay, very important. Animate objects are dhatul arwah, that has a soul. Okay, and there's very, very stern ahadith about this, that the ones who make these pictures will be punished on the Day of Judgment, and the ones who are wearing them or have them in their homes, the angels don't enter those homes. You guys have heard of these ahadith? Yes, I don't have to repeat them. Correct. Alhamdulillah. These ahadith there's a context to these ahadith, and let's look at what this is referring to. I'm going to read you this piece written on this topic. There's a lot of detail about this paragraph summarizes it really well. Okay, it says, فإن كانت هذه الصور الموجودة مما لا يكره إبقاؤها في البيت فإنها لا تمنع دخول الملائكة وذلك مثل الصور المقطعة أو المهانة. All right, what does that mean? He says, this is from a fatwa of one of the mashayikh here, and this is actually quoting An-Nawawi and Ibn Hajar. He will quote An-Nawawi and Ibn Hajar later. He says that the pictures that are okay to be in the house, okay, they don't prevent the angels from entering the house. So there is a category of pictures that don't prevent the angels from entering your house, and thus it means that they are okay. They are all right. Okay? What are that? That is either one of two things. One, that the picture does not have a head. Okay, it's a picture without a head. So it's a picture of a person without a head. Maybe that is not everybody's cup of tea. Okay? Or the other one is al-muhana. The pictures that are, for lack of better translation, humiliated. Right? What does that mean? They're not venerated. They're not seen as something that is a loving veneration of that object. Okay? It is debased. It has little value. Okay, what does that mean? Okay. ذلك لما في الصحيحين عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت قدم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من سفر وقد سترت بقرام لي على سهوة لي فيها تماثيل فلما رآه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هتكه وقال أشد الناس عذابا يوم القيامة الذين يضاهون بخلق الله قالت فجعلناها وسادة أو وسادتين. This is in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. The Prophet came back from traveling, and Aisha radiallahu anha had a qiram li ala sahwa li fiha tamathil. Qiram here is it's like a curtain or an object similar to a curtain. So it had pictures on it. Okay, it had pictures on it. So the Prophet ﷺ was unhappy with that. He did not like to see this. And in fact, when he saw that, he said that the people who are punished most severely on the Day of Judgment are the ones who are trying to replicate the creation of Allah. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ did not like this cloth that had a animate object's picture on it. Okay? Now, what did Aisha radiallahu anha do? فَجَعَلْنَهَا وِسَادَةً أو وِسَادَتَيْن. She said that we made it into a wisada. Wisada is a pillow. So they made it into a pillow or two pillows. And that's the hadith. The idea being the picture that was on like a curtain or something that was venerated in a way, when it became a picture that is humiliated on a pillow, like you sit on it, you step on it, you sleep on it, yes, that wasn't considered to be haram anymore. The Prophet ﷺ allowed that in his own house. Do you guys see the point here? Okay? It's not condoning making those pictures. That's a different conversation. What can you paint? What can you draw? That's not what we're discussing right now. Maybe we'll discuss that some other time. But the point is, what if you have something or you bought something that is an image, yes? If it is venerated, not allowed. Not allowed. Okay? But if it is humiliated, maybe another word for it is like degraded. Yes, thank you. Jazakallah khair. Right? Then that is no problem. Okay? Because the problem with the picture is the veneration. Okay? I'll give you an example. How did you would think that a person would hang a picture on the wall? And it's just a picture. But in a generation, that picture will become a family memory. Yes? And it takes the place almost like a demigod in the house of that person. That's something that you could see, you could witness in people's homes. For example, there's family members I have who have a picture of their, grandfather. And if you touch that picture or move it, oh my goodness, you have pinched a nerve or something. It's like yelling and screaming. We of course love our forefathers, our grandfathers, our parents. We love them, alhamdulillah. That's something we should do. But the picture has become such a object of contention. It is almost like it is venerated. And a generation later, it becomes what? Even more so. That slippery slope of shirk is what the Sharia shut. That door completely was shut so that that would not be a situation that arises inside the homes of the believers. Okay? And that is the reasoning behind it. So if there's pictures that don't serve that purpose, that is okay. I asked my sheikh about this. When I first read this in Fiqh, I was like, Sheikh, what is this? Because I never knew that. Right? He said, it's okay. He's like, if you have a Mickey Mouse blanket, it's okay. I was like, Sheikh, I don't have Mickey Mouse blanket. What do you think I have? Just because I came from Canada doesn't mean I have a Mickey Mouse on my blanket, all right? But good to know. Thank you. But the idea remains. If it's something that is, degraded or debased, it is not a problem. So that's pictures. Okay. Now let's come to pictures on clothing. Pictures on clothing are generally a type of veneration. Generally, you would say this is a type of veneration. You're wearing someone's picture, you are probably admiring them. Yes or no? And even if you are not admiring them, at least you're not debasing them. They're on your chest. Yes? Right? Okay, great. I saw this one sister come to the masjid. She was wearing a shirt that had Michael Jackson on it. I was like, what do I say to this lady? All right? But anyway, interesting choice of apparel. The point is that person is venerating the person on the picture, on their clothes. And as such, those pictures and those clothes are then impermissible to wear. Okay? That has a picture, dhatil arwah, that has a picture of something that is animate. Okay? If it is inanimate, or the head is cut, and again, I don't think the head cut is a little extreme for us here, okay? But if it's inanimate, like, the picture of like some scenery or mountains or trees or anything else, or artistic sketches or something that is, the face is obfuscated, let's put it that way. Like the face is not obvious, then that is okay. Okay? That is completely fine, there's no problem with that. Because that itself does not represent what is impermissible in the deen. And this is again the hadith of the Prophet that Jibreel wanted to enter. فَقَالَ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ أُدْخُلْ. If Jibreel said, how can I enter in your house? فِي بَيْتِكَ سِتْرٌ فِيهِ تَصَابِيرٌ. Your house has a curtain that has pictures. فَإِمَّا أَن تُقْطَعَ رُؤُوسُهَا أَوْ تُجْعَلَ بِسَاطًا يُوَطَّأ. Okay? He says, your house has a curtain that has pictures. How can we enter as angels that house? Either you cut the head of the person in the picture, right? Or obfuscate the face, right? So it's not a face. Or you make it into like a pillowcase or a pillow that is yuwatta. It's stepped on, it's sat on, etc., etc. فَإِنَّا مَعْشَرَ الْمَلَائِكَةِ لَا نَدْخُلُ بَيْتًا فِيهِ تَفَاصِيلٌ. Because us angels, we don't enter houses that have pictures. So because if the image is as such, head is not there, face is not there, or obfuscated, then that is completely permissible. There's no problem. And of course, anything that is not animate, that is also permissible, inshallah. Now, what about puma? Right? It looks like a puma, right? Actual like a tiger or puma, right? Whatever the animal category is. Help me out here, Dr. Noran. It's a feline, thank you. So that is not actually a picture of a feline, correct? Do you agree with that? If you think it is, then you don't wear it. All right? If you think it's not, then you wear it, there's no problem. Because it's also a little bit of how you see it. All right? What about other types of items that are on the clothes? For example, I have a jersey of Habib Nurmagomedov. I actually do, right? And it has a picture of it has a emblem of a bear on it. All right? Because apparently from the Russians, they have the bear. I don't know why. Okay? Or maybe because he wrestled the bear. Maybe that's why they have an emblem of a bear. But it doesn't, if you don't know the story of why the bear is there, you can't even really say that's a bear. You could think of it just like a cartoon. Okay? So I think that's okay. I also have a Toronto Blue Jays shirt that has a blue jay on it. I think that's not okay to wear, for Salah at least. Okay? Because the blue jay in the Blue Jays picture is very obviously a blue jay. It's a very obvious animal. It's not like the Puma logo. It's not like the bear on the Habib jersey, right? It's a very obvious animal. And they make it very obvious because that's the name of the team, right? So, I would wear it with like I would put a shirt on top, right? And then, khalas, that's it, right? You get to support your team and also be faithful to your deen, inshallah. Okay, you get 2 in 1. What about things like logos, like Nike? Is it okay to wear a shirt that has the Swoosh logo on it? Yes or no? How many people say yes? Like, please, don't say no. How many people say no? Okay, good, alhamdulillah. We don't have anybody saying no, and the correct answer, of course, is yes. Because the Swoosh logo is just a logo. It doesn't represent anything. It's definitely not an animate object. And there is mythology, Greek mythology, that is behind the name Nike. Okay? But the Greek mythology is not what you are, representing. You're representing maybe the company, or maybe you just like their shoes, or you like their clothes, or whatnot. So it's not that, right? On a similar analogy, the scholars of Islamic finance allow you to purchase Nike stock. Okay? They say it's permissible to purchase Nike stock. If you're able to purchase a share of the company, make money from it, it is also permissible to buy the products of the company and wear it. Okay? That's another interesting way of looking at it, inshallah. Anything that has the ayat of Quran on it, okay? That is something, there's some detail there. The ayat of Quran cannot be debased and they cannot be disrespected. Okay? ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. The Quran says, the one who venerates the symbols of Allah, that is because of the righteousness of their heart. So they should be, they can be on clothes, but those clothes you have to make sure that you do not disrespect the words of Allah. Meaning that they are not tossed to the ground in a bad way, and they're not. You have to treat them more carefully and more in a better way, inshallah. Okay, so those are some of the things. Questions about pictures on clothes or something else that I didn't maybe discuss? Yes, brother. What's your name, sir? Tafshin. Tafshin. Okay, Tafshin. Go ahead. Okay, family pictures at home. You can have pictures in an album. You can have them in an album. You can have them put away. There's no issue there. There is, well, to be honest, like the scholars are quite divided on this topic. Okay, but from what I have studied, it seems like it is fine to have pictures that are closed book. Okay, but to hang them on the wall, on a structure on a wall, is where the problem arises. Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Other question, Shaykh Abdullah. That's a very good question. Can you see the people's faces? If the face is clear, like you can make, yeah, it's a. Okay, excellent question. The answer would be if the face is there. Like if, just imagine there's a picture and like there's a, one of the people making tawaf looks at the cameraman and the picture is taken. Right? This is a. If you take pictures in the haram, you will see all types of like, interesting things. I have seen. MashaAllah, like a whole host of hilarious images being taken in the haram. Okay, so if that's the case, then clearly the person's face is there, and that would be impermissible. But if the person is there, obviously there's a person or people are there, but you cannot see their face, or the face is obfuscated, like it's blurred because they're moving, right? Then inshallah that should be okay, right? It is if the face exactly is visible, that's when the problem arises. Allahu A'lam. Other questions? Yes, but Ahnaf, and then we'll come. But the name is not a problem. The question is about jerseys. Someone's name's on the back. yes, you are, venerating the person, but it's not an image, right? The image is the problem. The name itself or the love of a person is, that's not like necessarily haram, right? It could become haram if it becomes extreme love for an individual. But mostly it won't be. And that type of veneration is okay unless it's a pictorial representation of the person. Because the picture is the one that is, you can say like, it is a step closer to being an idol than a name or some writing. Right? The whole idea is what? These things were started off as pictures and nice things, eventually turned into gods of people. Right? Throughout history. So that is the door that Islam shut. You can see that in the Catholic tradition, you can see that in the Hindu tradition, you can see that all over the place. It starts with a picture, turns into an idol over time. And our deen completely shut that door, so that is never, something that can happen. Right? So that's the intent. The name doesn't fit that bill, and that's why that should be okay. Wallahu alam. Question, brother? The polar bear. I don't know if I've seen it. Okay. Again, it goes back to that. Like if it's a polar bear's face, or it's very obvious that it's like a bear's face, that's problematic. But a shape like a bear is not a problem, just because the problem is the head and the face being visible and the picture being represented by that. Right? Wallahu alam. Hassan, you had a question? MashaAllah. You have a framed jersey on your wall? You're hoping one day you'll have a framed jersey on your wall? MashaAllah, Hassan. The framed jersey or anything that is, nice, there's no problem with that. The problem is with the picture of a person. Okay? Inshallah. Sheikh Khalid. Yes. 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 The NBA logo? Yeah. What type of shirt is this, sorry? Is it like are you talking about the NBA logo? Oh, okay. So like the Air Jordan, for example, right? It's obviously Michael Jordan dunking, right? Like that's very obvious. That's the whole point of the logo. But it's not a picture, right? It's not an image of a person. It's a logo, right? Because if you see the logo, it's not like it doesn't have eyes, and it's not like Jordan's face is there. It's just a silhouette of him dunking, for example. So that should be okay, because again, if like the hadith says, إِلَّا أَن تُقْطَعَ رَأْسُهَا or رُؤُوسُهَا, or تُجْعَلْ وِسَادًا, right? If the head, the idea being the face represents a picture, right? Yeah. Perfect, exactly. If it's a face where the eyes and the features are visible, or it's, barely visible, then yes, that's not allowed. But if it's a silhouette or a logo, right, or the picture, the face is obfuscated, like it's blurred because they're like moving around the Kaaba, for example, then that's not a problem, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Let's just Maaz, and then we'll come around. Maaz, yes. Yes. That's all. Yeah. Those things are, you can't help it, right? And again, those are not necessarily like things that you hang on the wall to venerate, right? Yeah, so if you are praying in an area and then there is like someone's image, then it is recommended that like that should not be right in front of you, right? You move it out of the way or something, and then you pray. It is not acceptable in that manner. it is not appropriate, sorry, to be in that situation, right? But the idea of any product that has an image or anything as such, it's all about veneration, and that's really what it comes down to. Allahu A'lam. There was one other question. Sorry, brother, what's your name again? Inayat, brother Inayat, yes. Emojis and stuff are okay because they're not like they're cartoonish representations, right? They're not actual like faces of people, right? Ahmad, you had a question, yes. That it has what, sorry? A bronco. Like, is it a picture of a bronco or is it like a silhouette of a bronco? Yeah, I mean, see, the blue jay is like they actually have the eyes of the blue jay, have the nose, the beak of the blue jay, not the nose, right? They have everything very visible, right? There's like certain blue jay logos that are just a silhouette. Broncos, like the Denver Bronco logo, even though it's a horse, it's not, it's a silhouette, right? So if you have that, that should be okay, right? But if it's an actual horse, like, face of a horse or something, then maybe that's something else. But at the end of the day, you're just using it for your sports team, right? You play your game in it and you're done. So that's also not a problem. And even if you are, you can always wear something on top when you have to pray. The question here is about wearing something like this specifically for salah, right? You can have something like this in certain circumstances, but for salah, it is to be covered up. Does that make sense, inshallah? Barakallahu feek. Yeah, Dr. Rahman. Excellent question. I do have a picture on the press screen of one of my daughters. Digital images are not what the ahadith of pictures is talking about, because they are, as you can see, I can turn it off, right? It's gone, right? That reality, they're pixels. Light turns on, they're there. Light turns off, they're not there. Okay, so they are not considered to be pictures that the ahadith are speaking about. Even if, of course, there is some love and veneration, it's not the same as being hung on a wall and literally raised up in the house. It's different still. So loving someone or venerating someone is it's acceptable. Of course, in fact, very highly recommended in many circumstances, like with your family, yes? But when I say veneration here, it's about like the person is on their way up to becoming like a demigod of sorts. That's where the problem lies. And the images on the walls are a first step towards that. Does that make sense to you? Picture in the wall, it's okay because it's closed book. Anything that's closed book, there's no problem with that. Okay? Closed book stuff, because it's, again, put away or in a place, that's not a problem. Even the phone, you can kind of think of it as a closed book, because when you close the phone, it's closed, right? But the picture on the wall remains there, right? It's almost like it's like dominating the surroundings. And that's where inherently the problem lies. Alhamdulillah. I think what we'll do is we'll do the section about, you had a question. Sorry, let me just do one last comment and then I'll come to your question. The question, the etiquettes of clothing, like, starting with the right, wearing nice clothes, the $5,000 suit versus the $200 suit, right? We'll talk about all that next week, inshallah. But we'll take one more question from the brother. Brother, sorry, what's your name again? Brother Muhammad, tafaddal. I haven't heard that one, but that's an interesting take. Like, let's put Allah above it, so we're venerating Allah before this thing, right? I don't think that's, I haven't read that myself, but I don't think that solves the problem, because they're not on equal footing, right? The picture is a picture, and the name of Allah is just in writing, right? So it's like a not a great workaround, in my opinion. Wallahu a'lam. Alhamdulillah. Then the third thing I said we'll defer to next week, inshallah. In December, we're having a whole bunch of guest lectures on Friday, inshallah. In very interesting topics. We'll have Constable Ziad Zabian, who's one of the constables in the London Police. He'll come and he'll have a talk, and I'll actually interview him. It'll be nice, inshallah. We'll have Dr. Adnan and Sheikh Dr. Ahmad Hijazi give a lecture on end-of-life care when it comes to Muslims. Very interesting lecture, inshallah. We'll have a lecture where all the London imams come together, and we'll have like an open mic session type thing. It'll be nice. And a couple more things coming up all in December. So please, Jazakumullah khair for attending this one, and please do come for those as well. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.